everyone. Here we are. It's me and Larned. He's over here. No, he's over here.
Yeah,
I think he's over here on the screen. But Larned and I thought we'd do a special video here where we're going to discuss something that we're kind of intrigued about, and we see our friends using it, and that is AI, artificial intelligence.
And we're talking about for comic books in this case.
Yeah, in the case of comic book, we're not talking. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other. You
can use it for a lot of things, but we're interested in talking about using AI for comic books, and that's what this video is about.
Exactly, and we have a couple of friends.
Yep.
We have a lot of. We don't know a lot about it. When I went online, I saw AI, but it didn't mention the use in comic books and how it could be used to enhance the medium and whatever. But there's all kinds of other artificial intelligence, and but we're comic book geeks, and so this is where we're coming from.
We're wondering about, art is art when you draw it yourself, and we're wondering about AI being, it's not created by the hand, it's created by voice.
Right, generally.
You tell the AI software what you want, and it produces it.
Yeah, and we have a couple of friends who publish comics, who've recently begun using this. They're using, what's it called?
AI. Midjourney. Midjourney is one of the. There's a number of them. Midjourney is the most well-known app for doing this.
So we have a lot of questions, and so we only set out 3 simple questions, just off the cuff, to 2 of our great friends, Dan Burke, who publishes Bad Magazine. This is like issue 4 or something, and that's the new one there. Mars Attacks.
Now those covers are created with AI.
Right. And also another great friend whom I've known for decades, and that is Tom Fellrath. And he's been doing something called Hologram.
Right.
Now, I've watched the evolution of both of these zines. Now, if you go back, because Dan Burke is a great artist.
Right.
And I've known
without AI.
I've known him for 50 years, and he's only, 50 years of progress. In Dan's case, is like, 200 years of progress for anybody else, because he's really great. But the first issue of his Bad Magazine, which was clearly based on Mad Magazine, if you look at the first issue.
That's a parody of Mad Magazine, and it couldn't have been done better. I mean, you can hardly tell the difference. But that's where we first saw him use AI.
He didn't use it very much in this particular issue.
He used a little bit, I think, in that one.
A little bit. Not too much, maybe on the covers, but this is Dan's own artwork.
Yeah, that's his own.
And you see, he's a terrific artist. He's terrific at doing satire, parody stuff, and that puts him, which is absolutely appropriate for this. So this is Dan on his own, and if you go through this entire issue, I'm not sure about the covers. Like I say,
I'm not sure about that cover either.
Might be, but somewhere between that issue and the upcoming issues, Dan began using AI.
Here you go.
And now
take a look at this. That is created with AI by Dan, and he's going to talk about that a little bit here in a minute. But here's one of the things he mentioned that caught my eye. He said if you're going to do panels with AI, to get it the same for each panel is a tremendous amount of work. And you can see the witch is pretty much the same in each panel. But in order to do that, I think Dan said he had to do a lot of manual work to the AI to get it to look similar in each panel. So it's not that easy.
Right.
But it is quite a tool.
And he uses it as a tool. He combines AI with his own artwork. And I'm just looking here. Right here. Well, you can see the AI at the top, and then Dan's own artwork in there.
Yeah.
Right, and he puts it all together and makes it work because Dan is a creative genius.
Now, he also mentioned he's been doing it for a year, which I never heard of it a year ago, but he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but our question, our overall question for this, do you think it's ethical to create a comic book with a computer, or do you think it's better to create a comic book with your own artwork? That's what we're trying to get at a little bit. What do you think? I know I have my opinion, and I'm sure Steve has his opinion, and we'd like to kind of express that. And you're going to see both Dan
and Tom
Fellrath and Dan Burke. Both of them will give some insights also. So
now I'll very quickly show you a hologram. This was the very first issue of Hologram. It's a mini comic, and it might have a little bit of AI, but basically this was
I don't think that did. No, not that
Tom
one.
Cadell, but it's but they used a lot of textures and techniques to make it sort of look like
He did do that, but I don't think that one had AI, as far as I know.
Again, there's an evolution. There's an evolution. Once Tom started using AI, we get stuff like this.
Yeah.
And I was mentioning because the artist on the early issues was William Henry Cadell. Tom did the artwork for this issue, but not all of the artwork. In fact, most of the artwork is artificial intelligence. But what he has, he'll use the artwork for the backgrounds, and then Tom draws the figure. The figures, he inserts his figures into the panel.
And the figure's supposed to be able to see through it, and that works pretty good.
Right.
You can see right through it. Yeah.
He's a hologram, and he goes all over the place. He goes all over the earth, just kind of floating around and encountering dolphins and stuff. And, and they're combining their art. And Dan does that too. And so they're combining it. Now, just very quickly, because we want to get into these two guys, because they really pulled out the stops and gave us some great answers.
Yeah, you're going to enjoy what they say, and you're going to learn something also.
But just to show you very quickly, because I asked Dan, well, I didn't ask him, he just volunteered. He sent me a whole lot of images that were done by AI. I'll very quickly show you 2 or 3 of them. This is entirely AI.
Look at that.
And this is for a coloring book.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine trying to color that with a Crayola?
And this is. It looks
look at that.
Like old Barry Windsor Smith or something. It's really nice. Very quickly again, you can ask the AI to draw in the style of a particular artist, and he asked for a picture of Lucille Ball, drawn in the style of Alex Ross, and this is what came out. And does that look real?
It looks
almost
like a
real.
photograph. Yeah.
But even more so, here's another one. And this
that really looks like her.
Completely realistic.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
You would think that a computer could find a picture of Lucille Ball and include it in their software. I'm sure they did.
There's other stuff.
Neat.
There's some comic book stuff. Looks like 1980s style of comic books.
Yeah.
But it's all AI.
Yeah.
I did see this one. This was a little weird because sometimes the AI is not exact. Sometimes it changes things. So here we have a picture of Superman with a short sleeve shirt on, and the red trunks it shows as red shorts.
Yeah.
And I'm a little concerned about Lois, where Lois is placing her hand there.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dan told it to do that.
I think Dan pulled a little fast one on us there. Added a little feature to that picture.
Yeah. And,
let me. I've done very little with AI, but let me just show you one thing that I did do. This is my character, 20th Century Detective, and he looks kind of like that. Well, I decided to type in the description of him into AI. That's what it came up with, which I thought was kind of neat.
Nice, yeah. It's
Yeah,
nice.
and this is a cover for a comic I'm working on right now. It's going to be short stories, maybe 10, 11 pages long. But anyway, that's what the AI came up with when I described what he should look like.
Yeah, and I
So
think
it can be of use, but do you want to do that, or do you want to create your own art?
that's where you're coming into. Is it ethical or not?
Yeah. I mean, it's got its place and backgrounds and things like that. Maybe look at that.
This is
look
a
at that
background.
Yeah.
Right
And
there.
if you know how to put figures into that, I don't know how you would do it, but I think Photoshop can do it. I don't have Photoshop, but
one last one I want to show off. This one is two complete comic book pages.
Now, see, those are panels, and
yeah.
to get the figures and everything to look the same in each panel is a real trick. It's not very easy to do. So
Dan is going to explain, and Tom are going to explain, and what their experiences are.
Yeah, he's going to talk about that in depth. But I don't know if you're ready to go to him now or not, or what do you want to do?
I'll just really quickly tell you what the questions were we asked them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I need the questions.
Number one, what we want to know is about your experience with Midjourney, your experience. How have you been able to utilize it in your new comics? Number two, how do you feel AI affects the future of comics? And number three follows up on number two. What are your comics plans for the future, and will Midjourney be a large part of that? Because once you've started, do you continue, or do you do it occasionally, or do you just do it to enhance your work? What do you do? Now you're into this. Now you've got a hand on the future.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah.
And what about your own artwork? Because both of these guys are talented people.
Right.
So we asked them these questions, and their answers are coming up here. You got anything else you want to say?
No, let's go ahead and look at the video of them, and we'll be back right after that.
Okay, guys. See you in like 40 minutes or something. Hopefully, hopefully not that long, but we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Well, I've been using AI almost daily now to make art for almost a year. It's coming up on quite a long time now. It's a fabulous tool. It's just as game-changing as Photoshop was in the beginning. It's just incredible what it can do. Let me describe what it can do. Let's say you're a set designer and you want to build a set for your play. You can type in the commands and this thing will show you different setups for your set design for your play. But it's just more than that. Let's say you had a set design you had $50,000 and you needed something extravagant. You could really, spend money. It could show you that. Let's say you had less money and you're like, give me a minimalist setup for a stage play. It would do that. And the AI that I'm using, Midjourney, and believe me, it's going through some growing pains. I can't recommend it as a product. That's for damn sure. It's down sometimes more than it's up as the developers try to figure out how to make it work. But that being said, imagine being able to do costume design on the most extravagant, fantastic level, better than Bob Fosse could ever do. It just incredible what it can do. Let's say you needed 20 thumbnails for a guy jumping off a cliff for your movie storyboard. Like, give me a guy jumping off a cliff in a tropical island storyboard style, or whatever you want to write it. It'll do that. So it gives you ideas for angles, setups. And for someone like me, it's actually educated me in art, because the computer has a doctorate in art. It stacks blacks and whites and so forth perfectly when it makes black and white art. So it creates perfect eye following, the way it works, because you have to stack black and whites correctly for your eye to follow to create depth. It does all that. It does it in color. And then you can tell it, take the style of somebody like Alex Ross and make me a painting about Lucille Ball. And the thing will make you a painting as if it's painted by Lucille Ball, painted by Alex Ross of Lucille Ball. Then you ask it, make me a cover to a magazine from 1965 with Lucille Ball on it, painted by Alex Ross. And it does that. Or it says, or you ask it, make it photography, and it makes it look like real photography from 1965. So the possibilities for book covers, previs design, jewelry making, logo designing, you name it, this thing does it at an extremely amazing level, especially objects like cars and spaceships and futuristic motorbikes and stuff. The AI software is absolutely incredible at making futuristic objects and arranging it in thousands of different ways that you'd never think of as an artist or a person, and coming up with unique designs of these things. It's really incredible. I mean, it's stunning the kind of work that this thing can make.
Hi, guys. I hope I can help out and answer questions you've got regarding artificial intelligence, especially Midjourney. Thanks for having me on. I got started with Midjourney by perusing the internet and seeing that there were some really creative pieces of art, digital art, that were being put out by people using this software called Midjourney. And so they offer 10 free pictures before you have to start paying for it. And so I started messing around with it. And of course, you do one of your dog, and you do one of some fantastic landscape, and you do one of, Superman dressed up as, I don't know, Iron Man or something like that. And you start seeing the possibilities, and it really intrigues you. And so that's how I got started with it. And I've since subscribed. I do their real basic plan. I don't do anything special. But it's a neat service. It's a really interesting service. How have I been able to utilize it in my comics? Well, the one comic that I've been able to utilize it in, and this is only part of the work, I don't think I have a finished copy right in front of me, is my hologram, and you can see that I've got Midjourney. Well, let's see. I was able to do a Midjourney there, image of shocked people at Stonehenge, and I've got people getting pictures in front of the Eiffel Tower, and I've got a picture down of a casket down in a tomb in a castle. I've got the Great Wall of China. These were all pictures I did using Midjourney, and I've got more in my book. It's a 16-page issue. It's chapter 7 of Hologram. It's the only one I've used so far with Midjourney, and the reason I used it is that I wanted to try to start drawing the book myself. However, I am very limited in my art skills. I'm just not very good at it and at drawing. I'm trying, I'm doing everything I can to get better. But in my case, I was able to push the envelope a little further as far as what I can put out by using Midjourney. In this case, I use it only for backgrounds. My character art, specifically, when I mean character art, I'm talking about the characters in my book. My character art, I am using hand-drawn stuff, and then I'll just scan in the hand-drawn images and do a cut paste using Photoshop, and I'll place my characters into the images that you saw using Midjourney. It seems to work out okay. Actually, I think probably the Midjourney part's the cleaner part. I have to learn a little better how to make the scans look a little more seamless. But it does okay. It's not the best, but it works.
So what do I think the future of comics is going to be as far as AI art, and maybe AI art in general for art? Well, just the way Chat GP, T, whatever it's called, is going to help people write English sentences and English papers and come up with ideas for stories and write small blurbs and paragraphs. The AI art is going to fill in a lot of gaps in art. It's going to do a lot of layout design work, a lot of logo design work. It can do covers. And the thing is, it doesn't do it perfect. Like, you might want to say, I want Spider-Man jumping out of a car holding a bag of money. It's not going to come up with the image you want. It's going to come up with an image that upon description might be what we just said, but it's not going to come with the exact image. So it's almost like a take what you can get and then use it kind of idea. It's going to give you some great pictures of Spider-Man jumping out of a car potentially. Potentially not. We'll go into that in a second. But it's not going to give you the exact picture you want. So if you want exact stuff, I don't think the artificial intelligence can do it on a level that we're thinking about with integrated figures and objects and so forth, but it's very close. Single person, like lay a person on a bed smiling, Marilyn Monroe from 1945, bam, it does it in a second. It's incredible. It really is what it can do. But I had some other point there about it. The future in art. Yeah, so it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be used everywhere. It's going to be part of it. And again, even though it won't make this integrated art I was just talking about, like it's say like something complicated, it'll come up with some great ideas. Like say, give me a cover, with a spaceship and stuff crashing and explosions. And it'll come up with a bunch of ideas and color schemes and ways to lay it out that might inspire you, and it inspires me to go ahead and make my own art based on that art. And that's what I mean a lot of times by the AI teaching me. It's teaching me how to do color better, teaching me how to do black and white better, and it comes up with incredible ideas that I basically either draw over or redraw or fix or paint upon or repaint, whatever you want to call it, because a lot of times it doesn't come out perfect. The faces come out weird, the fingers come out weird, they've got 3 legs, 3 arms. So the AI doesn't make perfect pictures. In fact, it makes a lot of mistakes in the pictures, and you have to be willing to take the time, and you have to have the skill to go in and fix all this stuff. So you don't get perfect images, not in the way you'd think. Now you might say, give me a bouquet of flowers, boom, bouquet of flowers, that's fine. It'll do that. But I'm talking about something complicated. I want to cover with Superman flying over a building, carrying Lois Lane. It's going to give you something like that, but not exactly what you want. But it also might give you something better than you expect. I've noticed how many cool ideas the artificial intelligence comes up with, how surprising, how intuitive and smart it is, and other times how dumb it is. It's only going to give you back what you put in. And it's taken me a long time to become good at writing the prompts that create the art that I want. Now, one thing that I really use this for is I use it for ideas for setups for covers and things like that, setups for designs for ideas. And I personally use it to help create backgrounds and things like that for my art. And what I do is I draw into that art or draw on top of it like an animator, and I'll put figures and objects into those drawings. And it saves me just tons of time. I can say, make me a background of the White House with an alien spaceship landing on that lawn. And then I can draw a figure right on top of that picture, and it looks all integrated and perfect. Now, none of this is easy, okay? It takes time. I've had to work on pictures for days and days and days and days and days, sometimes weeks. One time I wanted this picture of Mike Tyson as a doll boxing, not as a human being, but as what is like a blow-up doll, it's inflatable. I must have tried 1,000 different ways to get that image to be created by the software, and it would not do it. It just wouldn't do it. Then finally, like the bottom of the 9th, I saw some guy make another image of this, because that's how you learn, by watching others. And I said, okay, let me try that similar kind of prompt over here, and I got it. So you never know what you're getting. You might type in, plastic shine, all these different things you have to put in that you might not think, because you want a representation in art of what you're saying, and sometimes what you're saying isn't clear. Other times you can type in give me a vampire by Jack Kirby. And it'll come back with an image. By the way, it especially does Jack Kirby poorly. It doesn't even get close to Jack Kirby work. It's this approximation of it, but not, it's terrible. However, when left to its own devices, if you say to the software, give me an image of a superhero, tearing off his, open up his shirt, in an alley, revealing his costume. Give me a low shot, low angle, looking up. It will give you an amazing image. Amazing. It won't give it drawn by Jack Kirby or approximate that, but it might do it by someone else. But it comes back with amazing, amazing images. Now, so far I've seen it do people like Norman Rockwell. I've seen it do people like Alex Ross. In other words, it apes their style. It pretends to be them and does an approximation of their style. But other people, it can't approximate their style at all. And like I said, there's a lot of crazy artifacts in the art. Extra eyeballs, extra arms, extra noses. A lot of times you get 6 hands on the images. It's notorious for having six fingers on the hands. The software is notorious for doing that, for putting 6 digits on a hand. But it is getting better. In the last year, how it's progressed is absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing what it's done in 1 year, and where it's going to be several years from now. Just unbelievable. I want to tell you about a button in software, a button in Photoshop. It's inside the software. It says content aware. Let's say you have an image of a waterfall, but you only have this much of the image and you want more of it. You can say to the software, go ahead and interpolate this piece of the drawing and give me another drawing up here that fits into this drawing. And so it's called content aware. And the AI inside of Photoshop creates an image that integrates into the image you want and matches it. So let's say you have some image of like a photograph instead of a waterfall and you wanted much more detail, so you could put this, let's say, in a bigger image in a magazine or a photo. The thing will make it 6 inches, 8 inches bigger and fill in all that information if it was a real photo right there. So Photoshop itself has integrated artificial intelligence, and they have launched their own artificial intelligence program like Midjourney. I signed up for it, but they won't let me in. So I can't get in to do it. But when they let me in, I'll do it. Because I'm a subscriber to Adobe, but they won't let me in yet. But when they do, I will. And so Adobe's in. Adobe's all in on artificial art. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they bought something like Midjourney coming up. In other words, they just bought the whole damn thing and owned it. So it's here to stay. It's part of Adobe systems. It's part of Adobe software. And it's wonderful. I mean, the uses it has for people like me to fix the edges of drawings or fill in stuff, it just does a great job. It doesn't always do a great job. I keep telling you that because there's a big caveat in this. It's like saying a car can drive 100 miles an hour and that you can drive that car 100 miles an hour. That might be true. You might be able to drive the car 100 miles an hour, but I don't know if you'd be good at it, if you'd be safe, if you would crash. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff involved. So when you're making AI art, it's not dangerous, but there's a lot of crashing. You may not get what you want. I've been trying to make this logo for my brother for like 2 months. He wants a lightning bolt in a base clef image. I'm going to have to draw the damn thing and just create it myself because the software will not do it. I have given it images. I've given it blending images where you can blend 2 images together and make an image and all this different stuff the software does. But I'll be damned if it won't come up with a lightning bolt in a base clef. It won't do it. Let's say you wanted an image of like a 1950s comic book cover. It'll come back with an approximation of that. And sometimes they're really good and sometimes they're not. And again, you're never quite sure what you're going to get. For someone like me, producing a funny, humorous magazine, some of those mistakes can be very fun. I want to tell you why I use Midjourney to create the books and magazines that I've had. And I've created several thousand pages of published Midjourney AI art at this point. So I'm experienced enough to talk about it, that's for darn sure. It allows me personally, again, it's not going to give you that exact cover, that exact image you want, but it gets pretty darn close. and allows me personally to do this. Make me an image of a guy eating like a plate of vegetables, but he's very unhappy about it. And it'll come up with like approximations of something like that. And after like working on it, giving it more commands and modifying those commands, I can usually get kind of like a funny image of a guy forced to eat vegetables. And I can say, you know what? I want you to paint that like it came from out of a 1950s advertising catalog because I like old time looking stuff, nostalgia. And it does that. It makes it look funny with the guy eating, vegetables in a crazy way, and it looks like it came out of a 50s, 60s catalog. So I use it because it's like having the greatest resource in the world to make art. I can like make painted art, black and white art, vector art, logos, designs, buildings, spaceships, people, scenes, uh, visions, imaginary things, chaos images, Salvador Dali, anything I want to imagine, I can make this thing make. And for someone like me who's writing funny cartoons and funny ideas, it's fantastic. I'll come up with like a 10-panel cartoon about race car driving. And then I'll have the Mid Journey thing make me those 10 images about race car driving. I will integrate them and fix them and do the things I said if they're not correct. If they have, four hands on the steering wheel or some crazy stuff, or the guy has, five eyeballs, I'll fix it. And then I'll be able to use it inside my book, Bad Magazine, which is like Mad Magazine. So I love it because it speeds everything up. I could never draw, 4,000 images like was published in issue number 3. I could never draw 4,000 images myself. It would take years to draw 4,000 images. But within that book, I was able to produce that book in about a month, and it's got 4,000 images in it, unique, beautiful images in it, and they're all great, full color, gorgeous. And it took me time to fix them, paint them, place them, do all that stuff. But essentially, the artificial intelligence created the art. And I'd still be working on that book now, if not for artificial intelligence. So it's speeded up my production exponentially and allowed me to call upon any artist from history or any style from history or any kind of thing I want and go, I want a guy, working at a typewriter who looks crazy. Now, this has especially been vexing for me because I haven't been able to get a very good typewriter. It doesn't make damn typewriters. I don't know why. I saw a guy do typewriters, but I have not been able to get it to make a typewriter yet. So my guys are always sitting in front of tables. So it hasn't worked, but I'm trying to get it to create like images like that. Anyway, over time, I've been successful at making images to create my books and my comics and stuff. And it works great and it's very pleasing. I want to tell you something else it does that's a neat idea. Let's say you want to make a coloring book, like dinosaurs. The thing can make you a dinosaur coloring book in about an hour. Give you all 60, 70, 120 images, whatever you needed, and there's your dinosaur coloring book, all created. The software does that perfectly, coloring book type stuff, and would do it perfectly for you and things like that. So it has real commercial uses that are real. Let's say you wanted a sci-fi cover to your book, a spaceship landing on an alternate world, This thing will do that. It'll make you a beautiful sci-fi image. Now, one caveat about this software is it doesn't make high-resolution images. So you have to have the ability to have software to take the lower res images and make them bigger, to make them available to print. But if you don't have that, you're in trouble because you're only going to be printing little tiny pictures. But if you have the software like Photoshop or something that allows things to be upscaled without loss of image, you're in business. They haven't fixed that yet, but eventually they'll have upscale, to a print size, I'd call it. But right now they don't. So using software to make art is definitely here to stay forever. It's not going away. It is fabulous. I use it every day to make incredible images. And I'll tell you something else I like about it that I've been doing. I made a steampunk gadgets book with it. I have a couple books I've made about Day of the Dead and other things. I'm doing a book now that's a tribute to Vampira, who was the TV horror host back in the 1950s. And the thing has generated a couple hundred gorgeous images of Vampira that I could never make on my own or anywhere else. And also what it does it allows me to own those images. I could take them and license them out for people to make t-shirts. I mean, these are literally the best images of Vampire I've ever seen, ever, from anyone. I didn't do it, the thing did it, okay? But they're literally the best images ever. They couldn't be better. And so it's allowed me to make this book, which I'm calling the Vampira Tribute Book, and it's full of fantastic images, so I can write all about her. And this thing does the pictures. If I had to do the pictures myself, I'd be working on this book for 100 years. Because I've drawn books for years. You know, I drew the Ed Wood book. That was like 5 years drawing that book. Not because it took 5 years, because I was slow and I was lazy and I had a lot of stuff going on. I was working like a dog and didn't have time. But, you know, drawing stuff is great fun, super personal satisfaction. I'm going to continue to keep drawing because in my books, there's lots of my drawing. You always see it. And whether you know it's there or not, my art is always there because I'm touching everything. I'm fixing, recoloring, redrawing, repasting, photoshopping, altering images. The images are all altered and fixed because, like I said, for the most time they have to be. Sometimes you get a perfect image of a flower pot and a guy, you know, eating soup. But other times you have to take the flower pot image and paste that into the guy eating soup image and then do a new background, whatever you need to do in order to make the whole thing work for what you're trying to do, what kind of image, what kind of story you're trying to tell in that image. So if you need, like I said, specific images with exact things, you might get lucky and get it. Sometimes I do, but other times you don't get the exact image you want. I'm going to continue to keep using AI art because of what I just said. It allows me to create amazing books with amazing images that are really beautiful, that are pertinent. I mean, imagine if I was going to make like an architecture book about the futuristic architecture. And I wanted blueprints of that architecture, and I wanted renderings of those blueprints, you know, full color renderings of the buildings and the spaceships. This thing would do it. It would make you the blueprints, it would make you the buildings, it would make you the images. So you could make this whole book called Futuristic Blueprints and Buildings, you know, and it would do it. You know, so as a bookmaker, I'm always thinking about books. What's coming though is it makes video. So you could make integrated animated video with this thing. Could you imagine? I'm not doing it, but people do it and they're doing it. So it actually generates video too. I'm just making still images. But it's really incredible what it does. Really incredible.
I know that there are some issues regarding Midjourney, regarding AI in general. And I don't know, everybody's got their own reasons for using it. My feeling is, as it relates to Midjourney and it relates to AI for artists in comics, is that you've got two big issues at play. One is economics. The folks online who I've noticed are the absolute loudest about AI intruding into the world of comics are those who have money to lose. And those would be your professional artists, the ones who really can't afford to take on much as you see in the Hollywood writer's strike. You can't see these people can't afford to have an artificial producer of content competing with them. That artificial producer of content coming in so much cheaper than any human being ever could. So that's one side. The flip side is there's an artistic element, especially as it relates to something like Midjourney. There may be other services, I don't know. I don't use them. And when you've got that, you have to ask, where did the source material come from? How did the Midjourney know what the Arc de Triomphe looked like? How did they know what a couch looked like? How did they know what the Wailing Wall looked like? Or Machu Picchu in my case? That is a little dicier. And especially when with the AI software, you can actually say, I want something done in a certain person's style. So I could say, I want to have a person baking bread drawn in the style of Neil Adams, or I could have a person running super fast in the style of John Byrne. And that's where it starts getting tricky, because you got some ethical and some ethical issues in regards to that, because these services seed their AI knowledge by scraping the internet, I'm presuming, of images, and and their artificial intelligence is able to figure out what the essence of, say, a Neil Adams art piece is, or what the line style of John Byrne is, or perhaps how not to draw feet like Rob Liefeld. And so it will mimic those traits to repeat out and spit out the content that you want. Ethically, I'm not sure I'm up for that. I still want to draw. I'm just not good at it. And so I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to work on my figure work first. And it takes me longer, and it's something I'm not ready to start working in all of the backgrounds, especially as detailed as I need them to be. So I'm not sure that I ever will use AI art in a way that you see some of these like Kickstarter type projects where they say, the first all AI comic book. I don't know as I'll ever do that. I see it as a tool, and the tool is helping augment what I'm doing. I could use Midjourney just as easily as I could use Google image search and pull images myself, because for this particular image, I was just looking at historical sites, and I have one living room scene. But I was just looking at historical sites. I could have taken pictures of Stonehenge off of Google. I could have taken pictures of the Wailing Wall. Now, it was fun to add in the human pictures, the human reactions. That was kind of cool. But I'm not going to make my whole book comic related. One last thing on the economics, and I forgot to mention this earlier, is that for our part in the world of small press, I'm not sure the economic argument holds water. I think ethically, you still have the issue of, are you actually stealing other people's art and through the filter of an AI software putting it into your comics? That's kind of legit. But the other part, though, is I'm not making any money on these comics that I produce. And I would be hard pressed to know of anybody who is making enough money, if any, to justify the economic argument. So I guess my feeling is that, and also I know that a number of artists, and I've noticed this since getting back into comics, a number of artists rightfully want to be paid for their work. And I don't have a problem with that, but I'm a hobbyist, and I look for other hobbyists who like to draw, and then I like to work with them. It's hard to find truly talented hobbyist artists. And as such, I have to try different approaches. Midjourney for me is one of them. And I will keep using that insofar as it helps me get my work out. And again, I'm not making any money on this. So I'm able to finish my comics. I'm able to get my work done. And I'm able to make have a satisfying product. And for that, it's a tough question for some. For me, I found it pretty easy just because I've drawn some lines ethically as to what I'm not going to cross.
AI is going to affect comics and it's going to affect art because it can take an average person who's willing to learn the software and allow them to make amazing art, logos, designs, set designs, costumes, color theory, whatever you name it you want to do that day. It's a tool that works, and people are going to be using it all the time to make stuff. It's going to replace some art. Like, see this logo on my hat up here? Let's say I said to it, make me 50 logos with a W with cool yellow and red black swirls. The thing would come up with 50 amazing cool images that you can embroider onto your hats that would just be mind blowing. And so now you've replaced the embroider artist. Boom, just like that overnight. Things like that. It does fantastic work, and people who will use it and integrate it into their workflow will find it to be an amazing tool. Just it'll help them produce work faster, but of course, it will replace a certain amount of people who are making that kind of stuff. I want to say though, let's pretend, because I did, that I was the best artist in history. Imagine I could paint anything, because with Midjourney you can. I can paint like Michelangelo. I can paint like Leonardo da Vinci. I could paint like Rodin. I could sculpt like Rodin and prove it because I have 100 images of my sculptures, right? So I went on Fiverr and set up a Fiverr site and showed like 100 images that were so painted so beautifully, again, by Midjourney, genius computer building beautiful images, and said, I'll paint you a beautiful image for, $50. Looks just like this. And this is better art than I could ever create in my lifetime, as good as it gets. And nobody hired me on Fiverr to do it. No one said, hey, I got to have, your poster. I got to have your art. I got to have your work on my t-shirts. So even though I'm like, pretending to be the greatest artist in history, it still didn't change my fate. It didn't make people hire me, like me, interact with me, or find me, or go, got to hire this guy. So just having this tool doesn't automatically give you an audience or a place to sell it or a thing to do with it. I could be the greatest logo designer in the world using this tool, and you would be, and you still might not be making logos for a living. It's like a college degree. It's sort of what you do with it. You know what I mean? It's not the thing itself. Yes, it's like a doorway. It's an opportunity you can step through to use as but it's not going to do anything for you. It's like owning a car. A car can get you to a good job, but unless you get that good job, you're not driving the car anywhere valuable. So Midjourney and AI art is like that. It's a car that can take you places, can help you, but it's not the destination. And that's something to think about as far as the future of this tool. Now, it's going to be making TV shows. It's going to be making animated stuff. It's going to be prevising backgrounds. I mean, you could make a Bugs Bunny cartoon in an afternoon with this thing. It could do all the backgrounds. It could do all the setup of characters, turnarounds. You could have every animated cell ready to go in an afternoon. Could you imagine with something like this? So the possibilities and where it's going to go as far as art and the art business and everything, it's unlimited. Have a huge effect, I think, in TV and film. Because let's say I needed a background of a city that's ancient, apocalyptic, let's say. This thing does that stuff wonderfully, apocalyptic cities. This could give you that background. It would give you the background map, make it look perfect, sunlight, everything. You animate that background a little bit with some, ambient dust and some so forth and After Effects. You have your characters, walking across the screen. It would look completely real. And you wouldn't have to do, like any expensive hiring of a CG artist to make your backgrounds. You wouldn't have to hire that guy or that girl. The thing will make you the expensive matte paintings that you need already, and it's done. It's really, really, I got a cat at the back door. Just relax, kitty. It's really amazing what it can do and what it will do. And as I said earlier, where it's going to be a year from now, it's hard to imagine because what it's done in 1 year already is incredible. Anyway, I hope I've been able to address some questions about artificial intelligence making art, my experience with it, how I've used it, how I've integrated it with my work, why I like it, why I use it, what it does do, what it doesn't do. And I hope that helps some people get inspired to use it. It's not free. It's $30 a month to use Midjourney. And as I said, it seems to be down more than it's up. It gives frustrating results. Every time they change generations of the software, it screws everything up. So you can be in the middle of a project making stuff and it looks all one way, it's a certain art style, and the whole thing's blown up. You're done. And it's just like one day you log on and it's all different again. And that can be frustrating. It's a pain in the ass. It's also artistically challenging because it's constantly in flux, constantly in change. And you have to be willing to deal with that, battle with it, and accept it. And I do. But it's been incredibly frustrating at times because it doesn't give me what I want. I want a man parachuting out of an airplane. And for whatever reason, for 3 weeks, it won't do it. It just, doesn't understand airplanes anymore, doesn't understand men parachuting, whatever. And then all of a sudden, it'll magically sort of fix itself and start working again. And you'll start getting good images again. But I've had weeks and weeks where the dang thing didn't produce almost anything usable. And you're like, you're pulling your hair out. But long term, it's getting better and smarter every day. It's getting more slick. It has the ability to replicate, people's art styles in a way that's uncanny, scary, and fascinating, and a really amazing thing. I hope we can come back in a year from now and I can talk about my experiences as I'm going forward with it and let you know how I feel about it then.
Plans for the future. My comic plans for the future, and will Midjourney be a part of that? I don't know as I'm ever going to use Midjourney for anything other than hologram. I do have another self-created and self-illustrated mini comic that I'm working on. It's a lot smaller in scale, and I don't know as I'll be using Midjourney in there. I might, perhaps, a page or two here or there. But I'm not sure I'm going to use it at all. I haven't really put any thought into that. Midjourney or AI as it relates to something like the Heroes Now books, I significantly doubt that I would. There's a big limitation with Midjourney in that I found, and it's that you can't keep characters consistent from image to image, like their attributes, the stuff they're wearing, their colors, that type of stuff. You can't keep that consistent from image to image, and they do a lousy job depicting action. And when you're in the world of comics, especially hero comics like I'm talking about with Heroes Now, you've got to be able to have consistency of your images or of your characters, and you've got to have action. And if you can't do that, you really can't use the software. So I don't know as I'll use it for that. Is there a chance that I could use it in Strange Times? Yeah, there's a chance. In fact, I did use it for one page in Strange Times. The Strange Times 2, one of the final pieces, this bird image, I did, and the cloud background. I did that because I wanted to have a certain style evoked. I wanted to have a certain feeling evoked by my images. So I used it there. I could see spot illustration like that or a pinup like that. Yeah. But again, I don't want to do it in a way that makes it look like Tom stealing from any of, from Dave Gibbons or any of the other great artists that are out there. So I think that answers what you've got. It's never going to be a big thing for me, Midjourney. It'll be a tool, and I'll unapologetically use it as a tool. And we'll leave it.
Oh, I hope you enjoyed that. We enjoyed it. I think we're going to kind of give our opinion of what we think. You've seen what they say, and what do we think, Steve? I mean, I draw comics. You draw comics. What do you think? Would you use it?
Well, I think, as Dan said, it's a useful tool. and you can do a lot with it. It's enabled him to publish a lot of issues of this really complex zine, a bad magazine, in a short period of time with a lot of complicated stuff in it. Well, it would have took, Dan says, it would have taken him years to draw any one issue. But the cute butt, that's funny. But what do you input? Dan inputted, showed me a picture of a cute butt, and this came up.
Yeah, right.
So, but the thing is, okay, so it's a useful tool, enables you to create comics really fast, but does it have a soul? This is the question. The heart and soul of a comic book artist. And if it was all AI, I would say no.
Right.
No, I would say it's soulless and a useful tool to make backgrounds or whatever, if you need a particular picture. But I mean, Larned and I have been doing comics for a long time, and I've been doing them all my life. And you appreciate when other people draw something. They sit down and and they put pen and ink to the page, and they draw something, and they work really hard on it, and then they send it out, and that has soul. It has heart and soul and everything.
Here's what I've always thought about small press comics. Small press comics are limited. Limited in copies. There may be 100 copies of a small press book is a lot.
Yeah.
When you buy that, you're getting original art, and it's limited. There's not going to be 1,000 or 2,000 of them. You're getting one of 100 or one of 50 or something like that. So that in itself has value if it was drawn by the art. The whole thing was drawn by the artist,
Right.
That has value. So you have to think about that. And that's what I think about. I kind of like to draw my own stuff, and I don't think it's something I would use maybe like I did for a cover or something like that. But I just don't think that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
What do you think, Steve?
I'm not saying that what these two guys did is soulless, because obviously Dan Burke's personality is all over a bad magazine, for instance, and Tom writes a great story, and he used it in a way.
Tom could have used photographs. He even says he could have used photographs.
Yeah. Well, I think even like Jack Kirby, in the old days of Marvel, there were some comic book covers that Jack Kirby did where he would have a photograph of buildings in the background and the hero in the front. Yeah. You can use these other things. Yeah. And it's cool. I'm not against it. I just think that I think you should be careful and make sure that you're not lost in the presentation, that your talent shines through.
I think too. Yeah, the artist should be there. Now, according to Dan, you heard what he said, it can be a lot of work because there's a lot of corrections to do to it. And if you can make those corrections and still make it look exactly, you can't tell that he did it, that in itself is art.
Yeah. I mean, he's integrating the AI with his own artwork, and he came up with some fabulous stuff. Yeah. So you got to give him that. And we love Bad Magazine. We look forward to every new issue. Yeah. But that's just what I'm saying. I just say caution.
That's what I think too. Now you'll have your own opinion, and be sure and put them down in the comments here on our Patreon page. We'd love to read it. So anyway, that's my thought anyway, that I think I'll stick with drawing my own pretty much.
But I don't draw that much, but when I do it, everybody can tell, because it doesn't have anywhere near the quality of the stuff I've been showing. Steve must have drew that, the anatomy's all off, but whatever. And but I don't think it will. I don't think, people are going to get that lazy. I think it's a fascinating tool, but I think if you're a creative person, if you're an artist or writer, you're going to keep doing your own artwork. I couldn't see Frank Frazetta all of a sudden discovering AI and go, I'm going to I'm going to make all my artwork AI, and maybe I'll draw the guy in the front. I'll draw his face. But no, you wouldn't see that, because talented people like that have a natural talent to create naturally. They don't. They want to create. They want to draw. I mean, or write or whatever, but they do it themselves. And again, it comes from the heart and the soul. So I can see, some people are going to use it to the excess, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
But
and if they do a good job, that's fine. As long as everybody knows it's AI, as long as they say this is created with an AI, app.
Yeah.
So.
But if you have a natural talent, you're going to want to show off your natural talent, not your ability at inputting data into a program that spits out artwork that you didn't do, that doesn't look like your art style.
Right.
I see it as a useful tool. I say it's cool. But I say use it I would say use it in moderation, use it with caution, and don't neglect your own talents.
Own art. That's what I think too.
And that is.
Yep.
That's my final conclusion.
There you go.
I think that's it.
All right, so we'll end this here, and we'll see you in the next exclusive Patreon video.
Thanks for watching.